So I recently just watched Master Code's review of Chapter 6. And look, Master Code is one of those bronies, Pegasisters, if you will, of fans of MLP that kind of was up and down with the show. He saw some good moments, he saw some bad moments, some mixed moments, you name it. But I heard what he had to say, and I understand where he's coming from. But this also kind of validates what I said in my live stream. And what it validates is the fact that basically there was no communication, there was no connection, if you will, between all three avenues for G5, after the movie. There was no connection between those that worked on the comics. There was no connection between those that worked on Tell Your Tale, and Make Your Mark. Because one of the things that was promoted for G5 is that you had to at least watch both Tell Your Tale and Make Your Mark to kind of get the full scope of the story. And not a lot of people were going to watch Tell Your Tale for about 5 to 6 to 7 minutes just so they can get the full scope of something. Easy for me to say, I apologize there. The full scope of something, that they would see in a later chapter of Make Your Mark. But that's how it was promoted. And I think what really hurt is that the people behind G5 in all three of these avenues, mostly the two I just mentioned, Tell Your Tale and Make Your Mark, they did not come out and at least with Tell Your Tale, after certain episodes say, hey, tune into chapter 3 or chapter 4 to get the full, scope of what's going on or to see the aftermath of what happens next, and so on. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. All you got was a 5 to 7 minute mini episode, and then you got the credits, and that was it. You didn't get hey, tune into such and such chapter, to get the full, aftermath or to see what happens next. Nor did you get that with the comics, if there was connectivity between them and the shows. You didn't have at the end of certain issues, hey, tune into episodes, 30 to 35 to see what happens next after this issue, or tune into episodes 45 to 50 to see what happens after this issue. You didn't get that. Or you didn't get something that said, hey, tune into chapter, 5 or chapter 4 to see how this connects to see how this issue connects with that, with that chapter. You didn't get any of that. You didn't get any of that whatsoever. Instead, they expected you to pay attention. They expected you to be like, oh, I gotta watch, Tell Your Tale during my break at work or during my lunchtime, between classes at the university and all that. They expected you to, kind of think along those lines. Easy for me to say, think along those lines. And not realize that, hey, you have other things, other priorities in life that you have to take care of. Basically their thought was, hey, this is your priority. If you're truly a fan, then you're going to make that your priority. But that never happened, which basically caused a lot of fans like Master Code and Star Strike and others to be confused, to be like, okay, what happened? How did this happen? I mean, Master Code basically brought up the fact that openly collected all these cutie marks off screen, that we see in chapter 6. And what he doesn't realize is he would need to watch the episodes that preceded chapter 6, to see Opaline do this. Because that's mainly, in Tell Your Tale, that's mainly where she started doing it, in those little mini episodes. We saw it in one chapter, but we would see her majorly doing it in the Tell Your Tale episodes. And that's what he would have needed to do. That's what he and the likes of Star Strike would need to do. Basically watch Tell Your Tale to get the full, scope of what's going on, of how she did this. The same with the dragons and everything. They would need to basically watch, certain episodes of Tell Your Tale to get the full scope of what's going on with the dragons. Those kind of things. But they never did because Hasbro and Boulder Media, never gave them a reason. They never gave them a reason or anything. They never said at the end of chapter 5 or chapter 4 or chapter 6 to say, hey, tune in to Tell Your Tale to see what happens afterwards. They never did that. They never did that. Instead, they expect you to watch. They expect you to, pay attention. And that's not going to always work. You need to basically be very prominent, if you will. You need to be very, I guess you could say, what's the word I'm looking for? You need to be very, you need to be less, procrastinating, and you need to be more proactivity or productive, if you will. You need to be, you need to basically not procrastinate on things and be more productive, on what you're doing, on what your plan is. And that's what Boulder Media and Hasbro, and to an extent IDW, needed to do. They needed to be more proactive, more productive on making sure there was that connection for G5, which is why, as I think I said in the live stream, which is why I firmly believe Tell Your Tale is becoming the main focus. It's not because Make Your Mark didn't do good. It's not because the toy sales are down, significantly. It's not that, because they're still being sold. No, mainly what it is because of the fact that, one, the animation is going to be cheaper and quicker, to make and distribute, but also the fact that they could do a lot more with it. Even with the 5 to 7 minute, time run that they have, they're going to be able to do a lot more with it. In a way, what they're going to do for the 5 to 7 minute episodes, or mini episodes, or mini-sodes, if you will, what they're going to do is mainly treat them like a serial. Like, you got to keep watching to see what happens next. And then eventually they're going to connect those several 5 to 7 minute, chapters into one episode. They're going to collect them all into one little episode. And then that's going to continue on to, I should say, the eventual 22 to 44 minute episodes that they got planned. That's what it's going to do. But the point I'm getting at is, by focusing on Tell Your Tale, they will basically, I think, in a way, and maybe I'm giving them too much credit, that being Hasbro and Boulder Media and so on, but I think what they're realizing is by focusing on Tell Your Tale, there's going to be less confusion, because I think even they noticed that the reason, the toys may have gone down sale-wise, and the reason, Make Your Mark's getting such mixed reactions and Tell Your Tale is getting more positive reactions, if you will, is one, the episodes, the mini-sodes, if you will, are a lot shorter. They're a lot shorter to take in and enjoy. But also the fact that all people have to do, even if they don't see Make Your Mark, is watch a mini-sode version of Tell Your Tale to see, their interpretation of what happened and go from there. And that's kind of what happened here with the ending of chapter 6 and its connection to Tell Your Tale. We saw two different versions of how Opaline got trapped in a tree. We have her yelling no at the end of chapter 6, or at the end of Roots of All Evil when she gets caught in there, gets trapped in there. But in Tell Your Tale, we have her basically being pulled in saying, this isn't over. And then we see her get trapped in there. So basically fans get an idea of what's happening, even if they don't watch chapter 6. They get kind of the idea of, okay, Opaline's gone. And now they get to see what's going to happen with, Tell Your Tale post chapter 6. Because even with the Tell Your Tale episode that came on afterwards, that takes place in between, Secrets of Starlight, we get an idea of, we get an idea basically of what happened at the end of that. And we see Allura already in Equestria, because we saw her go in there in Secrets of Starlight, but we kind of get a more, I guess you could say, Tell Your Tale version of how she did that, or at least I think we do. And to me, I think that's why they're going to be focusing more on it, because there's going to be less confusion and everything. And again, I have a feeling that when they had those meetings, talking about, okay, what's the more successful, I'm sure somebody brought up, well, there's a lot of confusion. People, they understand that, they need to watch both to connect everything together, but it feels more like basically, they don't know what's really going on. They just have a slight idea. So I think that's when they decided, okay, we'll focus on Tell Your Tale first, and then we'll move on to Make Your Mark if we want to continue it. And also, like I said, if a chapter 7 is in the works, a whole year gives them time to not only let the new episodes of Tell Your Tale, the 5 to 7 minute minisodes and 22 to 44 minute episodes, play out, but it also gives them time to create stories simultaneously for chapter 7, Make Your Mark, and future chapters maybe, that would connect to those stories, but not be so confusing. It wouldn't be so confusing. So that when you get to chapter 7, if it happens, you already know what happened via Tell Your Tale. You have a potentially redeemed Allura, if you will, on the side of the ponies. And now you have this new threat in her brother. So it makes a lot more sense to go that route. And also it gives them time to not only write the stories for the next chapter of Make Your Mark, to connect to Tell Your Tale and all that without confusion, but it also allows them time to really, amp up their game, when it comes to the animation. Because as we saw throughout throughout the 6 chapters, the animation, improved. The animation got basically close, to what we saw in the movie. Got close, not right there, but close. And then if you give them time to really amp that animation up and improve on it, then the next chapter or so could really show that, hey, this animation is movie quality almost, and it would make it more enjoyable, I think, in the eyes of a lot of fans. I really do. But yeah, again, I get where Master Code and Star Strike and all of them are coming from. I do get it. And this is why, again, I think they're going the route they're going to go. Like I mentioned in the live stream, this is why I think they're going to go the route they're going to go, with, Tell Your Tale, making it the first thing, they're making it the primary focus. And then later on announce, hey, chapter 7 of Make Your Mark is coming, and maybe hint at the fact there's going to be less confusion. Like, I think what could happen is they could focus on Make Your Mark, not Make Your Mark, but what I think is going to happen is they're going to focus on Tell Your Tale. And then we get into the middle of next year, they're going to say something along the lines, if the rumors are true, that chapter 7 will debut. It'll debut either in November of 2024 or January 2025. And then that will be the main focus for Generation 5 for at least several months while they work on new episodes for Tell Your Tale. Or maybe they work on the 6th generation of ponies. We don't know. But that's just my opinion. That's just me speculating. But to me, I think though, primarily what I just said, them working on Tell Your Tale as the primary show, and then maybe doing Make Your Mark later on, is the direction they're going to go, because it'll cause us less confusion storyline-wise, and it allows them to amp up the animation a lot more. But I think in the long run, and maybe I'm giving them too much credit, this hopefully teaches Hasbro and Boulder Media and those in charge of G5, the writers and all of them, and all that, the staff basically. Hopefully this teaches them a lesson that, hey, if you're going to do this, make sure you have communication between each other, as well as you make sure everything connects in a less confusing way, basically a non-confusing way. Make sure nothing like that ever happens again. But that's just my thoughts. And hopefully that's what's going on. Hopefully that's the lesson they're learning as we speak. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. What did you think of Master Code's review? Do you agree with some of the sentiments he put in there? And what are your thoughts on what I had to say here in response? Let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video, live chat in, let me know what your thoughts are in the live chat during the premiere. And until next time, guys, I will talk to y'all later.